welcome back. Ooh, music down, music down. Okay, we're back for our second hour. My God, time is going fast on this first working day of July. I was talking about my uncle and about his early years. Irrigation, irrigación, which in Spanish has a different meaning slightly. Irrigation in English means el riego agrícola, y nada más, to irrigate. Well, I think in medical terms it can be used certain ways as well. About blood. But nevertheless, my uncle started out at age 18 or 19 working in the fields, implementing or putting together, setting up irrigation equipment. And he had to go to the war. He spent 2 years in a hospital with yellow fever, malaria, some type of tropical disease that he contracted in New Guinea. And then he went back. And he started working again in the irrigation company in around San Angelo, Texas. But within 15 years, he started his own company. And he needed a plane to move around. And the name of the company was the Cross B, and I can't find it. It's been a long time since he sold Cross B. But I did find him in the internet, mention of my uncle. But in any case, it's an interesting story. And he separated physically from his wife, but he never separated or divorced her legally. And he financed her along the way. She died before he did. She developed tetanus, the lady, living alone with her cats. She had about 10 different cats. And it was a tough life for him. But every day he went to visit his wife, to make sure she was okay. And then the last 2 or 3 years, she had to be in a nursing home. A nursing home is the word for hogar de ancianos. I don't know how to say it today. Un geriátrico. A nursing home. Because she had developed problems deriving from tetanus. And so he took care of her, looked after her. Okay, let's go on. With the mastering the interrogative. I used the elevator on the left. Which elevator did you use? Which elevator did you use? I used the elevator on the left. It's interesting in this building. Our office is located in a building that's called Euro Building 2. And it was built back in the 1970s. I don't know, maybe 1974, 1975. And I remember coming here, I think in 1977, I came here because I needed to buy an IBM Selectric typewriter. And I came here because the offices of IBM were located in this building. And I remember certain aspects of the building then that I recognize today. The open section in the middle when you get out of the elevators. And I bought a Selectric. If you remember, it was the typewriter with una bola, a ball that you, it was quite an interesting typewriter. The Selectric. Very advanced at its time. And then I never thought I would come back here, but in 2010, I don't know how many years later that is, from 1976. That's 44 years later, I think. No, from 1976 to 2010 is 36 years. 36 years later, I think. Yes, 36 years later, I was back in the same building. And of course, these offices we have here are 4,000 square meters, very nice. However, the elevators are still from the 1970s. They haven't improved the elevators, and it's a problem here. The elevator doors, and it's just a mess. And so there are 2 elevators, the one on the left and the one on the right. You never know which one's going to come, and sometimes they take a long time. But in any case, it's a nice office, and I enjoy this office. If you've never been here, come by. So I used the elevator on the left. On the left. Which elevator did you use? the one on the left? And why didn't you use the one on the right? Because I never use the elevator on the right. And why don't you ever use the elevator on the right? Because I'm progressive. I only use elevators located on the left. Oh, well, it depends on it's relative. If you're facing the elevators, the one on the left, if your back is to the elevator, it's on the right. No, facing the elevators. I never use the elevator on the right because I'm not a conservative. I'm a progressive. Okay. I lost the second draft of the report. Excuse me? I lost the second draft of the report. Question. Well, I didn't understand the answer. I said I lost the second draft of the report. The second what? Draft. What's that? Draft? Draft has several meanings, strangely. One very important meaning is borrador. Se perdí el segundo borrador del informe. No lo encuentro. I lost the second draft. Oh, and what's the other meaning? Well, phonetically, the word draft means corriente aire. There's a draft coming under the door. I'm going to sneeze. ¿Por qué estornudas? Es que hay una corriente aire. There's a draft. This room is very drafty. This room is very drafty means this room, the insulation is not very good, and cold air, is seeping in through the crevices and the cracks, under the window, under the door, around the top of the door. So it's a drafty room, draft. Now, there are two spellings for this. The American spelling, D-R-A-F-T, and the British spelling, D-R-A-U-G-H-T. Draft. Draft. And to draft something is to draft a report. Es elaborar un informe en plan borrador primero. As a draft a report. I'll draft a message. I'll draft a response. This is common in business and in politics. I will draft a response, which means escribiré un borrador de respuesta que luego tú puedes corregir. I'll draft a response for you. A draft. So, in this case, I lost the second draft of the report. Question. Which draft of the report did you lose? Did you lose? I lost. Did you lose? I lost. Which draft of the report did you lose? I lost. The second draft of the report. Sentence. The tank was emptied by means of a pump. The tank was emptied by means of a pump. Okay. Well, how was the tank emptied? How was the tank emptied? Now, the word tank has several meanings. The two most common meanings is one, un tanque militar, like a Sherman tank, a Patton tank. But the second meaning, which is probably even more important, is cualquier depósito o cisterna. It's a tank. A tank. So the tank was emptied by means of a pump. This story is a story of people who bought a house, and they learned that before that the house was built, it had been a gas station, a service station. They learned. Se enteraron. To learn is enterarse, además de aprender. So these people bought a house, a very nice house, but a few months later they learned that before the house was built, there had been a gas station or a service station on the same location. And the father was a bit worried that maybe there was still some gasoline or fuel or some type of gas underground. Because as you know, service stations have underground tanks that hold the gasoline and the diesel fuel. And so they contracted an expert, and sure enough, in efecto, sure enough, there were 2 tanks, underground tanks, under the house, under the foundation of the house. Under the foundation of the house, there were 2 tanks, and both of them contained fuel. Still, fuel. Fuel is combustible, ya sea gasolina o diésel. And so they had to extract the fuel from these 2 tanks by means of a pump, by means of, por medio de, by, 3 words, by means, con ese, escrito means, by means of a pump, una bomba. And then they had to remove, this cost a lot of money. They had to remove the tanks as well. It was mandatory from the city ordinances because it was too dangerous. So it cost them a lot. Yes, the tanks were emptied by means of a pump. Question, how were the tanks emptied? Voz pasiva aquí. ¿Cómo fueron vaciadas? O vaciados los depósitos. How were the tanks emptied? Okay, another sentence. I got this tie in a small neighborhood shop. I got this tie, or I bought this tie in a small neighborhood shop. All right, where did you get that tie? Where did you get that tie? Where did you get? In the question, probably we would use the verb to get, not to buy. Where did you buy that tie? Where did you get that tie? ¿Dónde conseguiste esa corbata? I bought it in a small neighborhood shop to buy a tie. I'm going to the States this summer for about 16 or 17 days. I think I'll buy a tie or 2 because all the ties I have were given to me. I don't remember the last time I bought a tie. And I'm going to take a little bit of time and look at the ties, the aesthetic value. It's very common to say, I like your tie. But ties, I don't wear ties too often nowadays. I don't wear ties too often, but occasionally I do. So I think I'll buy a tie or 2. I think I'll buy 2 ties. Yes. And because I wear a tie only twice or 3 times a month, I don't need to worry about having a lot of ties. But already, I have given, 1 year ago, I had probably 40 ties. And probably 36 of them were given to me. Because every time I give a talk, not every time, but I would say, I give about, I would say maybe 10 speeches per year. 10 speeches or talks. Speech es un discurso, talk es una charla o conferencia, dar una conferencia. Outside of the talk I give in Ancora with Javier Fernando de Guado on entrepreneurship and leadership, the rest of the talks I give is because they invite me. Companies or different associations and groups invite me to give a talk. And I give it for free. I don't charge. The only time I charge is if the people who invite me are in turn charging the participants or the audience. If it's a money-making initiative and they want me to be one of the inputs, then I'll charge. And I can charge 2,000, 3,000 euros to give a talk. But that's very rare. That's once every 2 or 3 years. All the rest of the talks I give to organizations and associations or in schools or in front of groups. I've given, the last talk I gave was in front of the Asociación Española de Bio. I'm trying to remember, Biofísicos? I can't remember what their exact name is. It was interesting. But not Biofísico. There's a different name that they have for that. But it's the looking for life outside of here on Earth and outside of the Earth's atmosphere. La biofísica. I can't remember what they're called. And so I gave a talk there to a group of about 115 or 120 people. I don't charge for these things because I know that it's they enjoy my visit. It means a lot to them, and I have a chance to extend the name Vaughan for the Vaughan Systems for the company. It's good for the company, and so I do it. I meet a lot of interesting people. I met several interesting people when I went to La NASA Española, to the INSA, Instituto Nacional de Tecnología de la Aviación. I don't remember what it's called, INSA. But it was very interesting. They didn't give me, as far as I could, they invited me to lunch. I'm trying to remember if they gave me something, but many times these organizations or associations give me a tie. And so I have, probably over the past 10 or 15 years, I have collected about 20 ties or 30 ties, 2 per year. 15 years, that's 30 ties. Because I give about 10 speeches a year, so at least in 2 of the occasions they give me a tie. And so I have a lot of ties. And so last year, I decided, when I moved to a different house last year. And when I looked at all these ties, I said, okay, I will keep the 10 ties I like the best. And I made a selection of the 10 best ties. And then the other 30 ties I took to Caritas. And I'm not Catholic, but Caritas, I think, does a good job. And so if I have old clothes, I take the old clothes to Caritas. And there was a Caritas center only a block and a half from my house. It's in the church Los Jerónimos in Madrid, just behind the Prado Museum. It's a beautiful church. It's a very kind of a mute elegance, that church. That's where Alphonse XIII got married, just before the bomb in the Calle Mayor. And it's I used to live just 1 block from the Jerónimos Church, behind the Prado Museum on Calle Academia. It's called the Calle Academia because of the Academia Real de la Lengua. And I lived there, very close to the Retiro Park, about 40 meters from the parterre entrance, the Casón del Buen Retiro, right next to the Casón I lived. And I decided to move because that area is too stately. Stately means demasiado señorial. And even if you want to go and buy bread, you need to catch a bus. There are not many everyday services in that area. But in the Jerónimos Church, on one of the back corners, there's an office of Caritas there. And so I took the 30 ties. It's quite interesting. They look, wow, a lot of ties. And most of them are good ties in perfect condition. It's just I had too many. So I wanted to get rid of 30 of them. So I took them to Caritas. All right, let's go on. So the question is, where did you get that tie? I got this tie at a small neighborhood shop. Sentence. The bill was paid on the 17th. The bill was paid on the 17th. The bill was paid on the 17th. Enlacemos. The bill was paid on. The bill was paid on the 17th. La letra D al final de la palabra se enlaza siempre con las palabras siguientes, sí. If the following word starts with a vowel, on, paid on, paid on. The bill, la factura. The bill was paid on the 17th. Question, when was the bill paid? When was the bill paid? It was paid on the 17th. The invoice, the bill. Bill has a lot of meanings as well. There are a lot of words in English that have several meanings. Bill means el pico de un pato, the duck bill. Bill also means la visera de una gorra, the bill, the cap's bill. Bill. Bill also means Guillermo. Bill. Yeah, Bill. Bill Miller. What's a famous actor by the name of Bill? I can't think of a single famous actor. There must be a famous actor. Famous actor, Bill, what? I can't find a famous actor by the name of Bill. Can you? Can you think of famous actors? All right, let's make a list of famous actors. And surely there will be a famous actor by the name of Bill. Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio, Harrison Ford, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, Will Smith, Denzel Washington, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Robert Downey Jr., George Clooney, Bruce Willis, Robert De Niro, Ryan Reynolds, Al Pacino, Christian Bale, Samuel Jackson, Clint Eastwood, still nobody by the name of Bill. I can't find anybody by the name of Bill. Jack Nicholson, Sylvester Stallone, Ashton Kutcher, Quentin Tarantino, Robin Williams, Gary Oldman, Liam Neeson, Channing Tatum. There are no Bills. Sean Connery, Jim Carrey, Nicolas Cage, Ryan Gosling, Morgan Freeman, Matthew McConaughey, Hugh Jackson, Dwayne Johnson. No Bills. Maybe if you want your son to become a famous movie star, don't call him Bill. Marlon Brando, Kirk Douglas, Chris Pratt, Jamie Foxx, Martin Sheen, and Michael Caine. All right. Here's a list of the 100 greatest actors of all time. And number one, they put Jack Nicholson. Very good actor. I'm not sure if I would rank him as the greatest actor of all time. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Jack deserves the status of the greatest actor of all time? I don't think so. But I would include him in the top 10, definitely. Very good actor. Brilliant. Number 2 is Marlon Brando. Yes. Number 3, Robert De Niro. No, I wouldn't include him. I would include him in the top 30. Number 4, Al Pacino. Number 5, Daniel Day-Lewis. Now, Daniel Day-Lewis I would include in the top 5. Maybe as number 1. I think he's a brilliant actor. Brilliant. Dustin Hoffman, Tom Hanks. Nobody by the name of Bill. Anthony Hopkins, Paul Newman, Denzel Washington. You know, I think that the correct pronunciation of his name is Denzel. The stress is on the second syllable, but I'm not sure. Denzel Washington. All my life I've said Denzel. All my life. Ever since he became famous in the early 90s or the late 80s, I said Denzel. But maybe the pronunciation should be Denzel. Spencer Tracy, number 11. Laurence Olivier, number 12. Jack Lemmon, Michael Caine, etc. But no Bills. It's interesting that this list of the greatest actors, practically all of them are still living. And so the person who made this list doesn't remember the quality of some of the actors from 100 years ago. Gary Cooper, Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Humphrey Bogart, Gregory Peck, George C. Scott, Jason Robards, Charles Lawton, Anthony Quinn. A lot of very good actors. Peter Sellers, going way back. James Cagney, Peter Finch. I think Henry Fonda, I think these actors were as good or better than the more contemporary actors. Be right back.
Este mes de agosto